So here's a quick toolbox update. So on my old WeatherGuard toolbox, you may recall I installed a 12-volt plug on the back side of the toolbox that was connected to one of my upfitter switches. And I had it there so I could plug in a spotlight or a cooler, just anything that requires 12-volt electricity into that little spot. What I've done here is wired up the internal LED lights that are on this Built-Right toolbox. Let me show you what we did. So inside the toolbox you can see the LED lights. It's right at the center. There's two of them. They point each way and they give you quite a bit of light inside of the toolbox. And you can see the little pin switch on top that triggers it when the lid is closed to turn it off. So that's really nice. But you can see at the back of the toolbox you also have an LED light that points towards the bed. So if you're using a soft tonneau cover like I am and it butts up against the toolbox, you actually have light inside of the bed whenever the toolbox lid is open. I know it's not going to come in super handy, of course, because you have to open up the toolbox to turn the light on, and if you have bed lighting like I do, it's not going to make a huge difference. But what's nice about it is, if I have this rolled up and I'm working inside of the toolbox, it's also going to help illuminate the inside of the bed. I had this already here, and I had the wire already connected to that 12-volt outlet on my old toolbox, so it was a really quick process of simply connecting that to the LED light in the back of my bed to the new toolbox. Anyways, I just want to show that light connected because I know a lot of people were curious as to exactly where the LED lights were and what they illuminated on. So now I have another light in the bed of my truck, and I also have one inside of my toolbox, so that's really cool. Anyways, guys, on to the video. What's going on, everyone? So I am driving in the fog. It is a pretty nasty day out today, and I happen to be behind this Chevy High Country 3500 HD dually pickup truck. Well, I was directly behind it, now I'm not anymore. But, you know, when I was looking at this truck at a traffic light, I thought, you know, this is a great opportunity to do a driving rant video on a topic that I'm sure a lot of people ask themselves whenever they're shopping for the perfect truck for an RV, especially if they're considering getting a dually. So guys, we're going to talk about some of the myths that surround owning a dually and some of the things that you just have to keep in mind if you plan on getting a dually or if you plan on staying with a single rear wheel truck. Basically some of the pros and cons. One of the biggest concerns people generally have when they're shopping for a large RV, specifically a fifth wheel, a large travel trailer, let's say over 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating, or a toy hauler, whether it's a travel trailer toy hauler or a large fifth wheel style toy hauler, is that if they get the trailer, what type of truck are they going to have to spec out specifically for it? Should they go for a dually? Should they go for a 1-ton single rear wheel truck? Or should they go for a 3/4 ton truck? I think one of the biggest misconceptions people tend to have around dually trucks is that they're significantly more expensive than their single rear wheel counterparts. And they are going to be slightly more expensive, but the difference in price is actually much less than you might think. In the case of a 350, a 3500 HD, or 3500 from Ford, GM, or Ram, the cost difference between a dual rear wheel truck is only going to be about $1,500 to $2,000 more. Now, a lot of people might say that's a lot of extra money. However, most of the time, if you look at a dealership lot, you'll find that the same model of truck, the same trim package, is generally going to only be about a $500 difference when everything is said and done. And the reason for that is most of the time you can spec in or spec out other features or other little things that really make the price not that much of an issue. An example of that might be you get one truck with the spray and bed liner that is a single rear wheel truck, and then the dually does not have the spray and bed liner, but it may have another feature that the single rear wheel truck doesn't have. And when you start seeing what the actual cost difference is on a dealership lot, you'll notice that it's marginal. It's not very much at all. Now, in the case of an F450, the real problem you run into there is just the fact that a dealership's not likely to have too many of them. For instance, AutoNation Ford, where I do a lot of shopping, or even Sam's Ford here where I live, they usually only have one in stock. They might have one on order and one in stock, so by the time the one on order arrives, the one in stock is gone. But usually from an F450 perspective, inventory is going to be your biggest problem. And of course, if you only have one on the lot, you're probably not going to have a big selection of features or the things you might want in that specific truck being spec'd out on that truck. So that's the other issue you run into. From an ownership perspective, there aren't many differences in terms of the maintenance and the things that you need to do on a dually versus a single rear wheel truck. The only real challenge you may run into after getting a dually is fitting it in certain places or washing it. That's really the only two issues I've ever had. Now, with my 450, of course, that wider front axle gives me much more maneuverability than the F350 dually did. However, once you get these trucks, you kind of adapt to them. I could have stuck with the F350 and been perfectly fine, but the way I wanted it to perform, the way I wanted it to handle, and the way I wanted it to turn was so different than what I was used to with my previous F450 that it was worth it to me to get another F450, but it may not be worth it to a lot of people to make that change. Now, a single rear wheel truck, whether it's a 3/4 ton truck or a 1 ton truck, is going to fit the bill for a lot of folks, especially if it's a travel trailer that you're looking at getting. When I mention dually trucks and I talk about certain trailer applications for them, I really only do that from a payload perspective as well as a stability perspective and a redundancy. Having those 2 additional tires in the back gives you extra peace of mind in the event one tire blows out, or in the event that you have an issue with a heavy crosswind and you want as much stability as possible. So a dually will provide that. But more importantly, and the thing I've mentioned over and over again, is that a dually will inherently provide more payload capacity. Significantly more payload capacity. Usually it's a minimum of at least 2,000 pounds extra payload capacity when you move to a dually over a 1 ton single rear wheel truck. So a 1 ton single rear wheel truck is usually going to cap at about maybe 3,600 pounds worth of payload capacity. And when you get a dually, you're looking more around a 5,000 to a 6,000 pound payload capacity, and even higher if you get properly spec'd out truck. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to personal preference. I'm not saying that any one truck is absolutely required for any one type of trailer, but what I am saying is that if you are shopping for a truck and you're shopping for the right application, the things you really need to think about is how heavy your trailer is, where that weight is distributed on the trailer. Is it primarily towards the back? If it's a toy hauler and you're loading a toy in the back, how much weight is it taking off the front? Is it designed to put most of the weight at the front? Is it going to be something that's very tall in nature, very tall profiled, so it's going to react differently to a strong crosswind than another trailer? Is it inherently heavy? Things like that are all important. And peace of mind is also a big one. So if you're getting a trailer and you want the most peace of mind, dualies work out really well for you because they have those extra 2 tires in the back, which creates inherent redundancy. That ability for you just not to have to worry about your tires as much as you might normally have to. So I just wanted to throw this quick video together for you guys, simply because I get folks asking me all the time when they're considering getting a certain type of truck or a certain type of trailer, what truck is best for them? What would be the safest? What would be the best route to go? And what's kind of funny is I think that I've spurred a shopping awareness in people that might not have been there before. Most of the time you watch these channels that do reviews, you watch TV shows that do reviews on trucks or read the magazines, and they really try to emphasize how capable these lighter pickup trucks are, how capable half-ton trucks are, where they've come, how you get these tremendous towing numbers from these vehicles. But oftentimes what I think ends up happening is people try to say, well, if I can get a lighter truck, if I can get a truck that may be less capable overall, but more enjoyable to drive when I'm not towing, I'll do that. And people that are first getting into the lifestyle of RVing are finding themselves with a truck that is capable technically of towing the trailer they have, but then they run into this situation where they feel, man, if I could have done it over again, would I have gotten this same truck, or would I have gotten a different setup? So that was the whole purpose of this video. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this channel. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we will talk to you again very soon.